Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the text this year, reading a paragraph or two at a time, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then I write from that clarity. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. Today we're reading from A Course in Miracles, Chapter 5, Section 6, Time and Eternity. So we're going to read the last 3 paragraphs in this section. Paragraph 10, you need not fear the higher court will condemn you. It will merely dismiss a case against you. There can be no case against a child of God, and every witness to guilt in God's creations is bearing false witness to God himself. Appeal everything you believe gladly to God's own higher court because it speaks for him and therefore speaks truly. It will dismiss a case against you, however carefully you have built it up. The case may be foolproof, but it is not God-proof. The Holy Spirit will not hear it because he can only witness truly. His verdict will always be, thine is the kingdom, because he was given to you to remind you of what you are. Oh, wow. If you harbor any guilty thoughts toward yourself, then this paragraph is your salvation. The ego will indeed build a case against you. To this, I can attest. It seems to have so much proof, but its proof is all smoke and mirrors. This is why each time I feel guilty or notice a guilty thought that the ego has dredged up from the past, I ask the Holy Spirit to answer that charge against me. He never finds me guilty. It is not possible for him to do so because his function is to remind me that I am the Son of God. There can be no more guilt in me than there can be guilt in God. Once the Holy Spirit has reminded me of the truth, I ask him to remove the belief in guilt from my mind. I've been a pretty reluctant learner in the past, but I'm becoming more malleable as I have asked often and been answered in the same way each time. Now, when I write that guilt does not exist, I actually believe it. I still hear the ego voice as it presents as proof that I am wrong about this, but I seldom agree with it. When it does find a memory that hooks me, I very willingly show it to the Holy Spirit and wait for my mind to be healed. Big change that. I also see that I must give up the idea that someone else is guilty. If I am innocent, so must all my brothers be. And imagine that you have an infection in your body. Could you, the rest of your body, argue that the infection is in the hand and so has nothing to do with it? That would be me arguing that you could be guilty and not have anything to do with me. It's ridiculous. I find that it is unusual for me to think of someone else as guilty, but it still shows up in subtle ways. It could happen that I will be impatient with someone or wish someone had not called me. I will feel attacked by someone's words or resent his absence. These are all examples of making the other person guilty, and noticing these thoughts as such helps me to see where I am still stubbornly clinging to the idea of guilt as being real. This is good information. Once seen, I recognize the need to practice mastering my decision to release the idea of guilt. I give it to the Holy Spirit so he can undo it for me. In paragraph 11, time and eternity, paragraph 11. When I said I am come as the light of the world, I meant that I came to share the light with you. Remember my reference to the ego's dark glass, and remember also that I said, do not look there. It is still true that where you look to find yourself is up to you. Your patience with your brother is your patience with yourself. Is not a child of God worth patience? I've shown you infinite patience because my will is that of our Father, from whom I learned of infinite patience. His voice was in me as it is in you, speaking for patience towards a sonship in the name of its creator. This morning, I was thinking about patience. I had an experience of peeking behind the veil only to stepped back from it pretty quickly. I felt frustrated with myself at first, but then I decided to be kind to myself. So I became patient, knowing that the outcome is certain. I am a child of God, and I am worth patience. Jesus says that he learned infinite patience from his Father, and that the voice that was in him is also in me. So maybe patience is the lesson for me today. Actually, I shouldn't be surprised that patience is a lesson I must learn. I caught myself being impatient with a friend who's afraid of something that, to my mind, is simple and non-threatening. Then I had to laugh as I thought about some of my fears. I'm afraid of heights. My friends who love mountains and love to hike in them and climb them must think I'm silly. And yet, my fear is very real to me. My friend's fear is just as real to her. Doesn't she deserve my patience? I think the reason I felt impatient with her is that I have been impatient with myself. I have felt frustrated that I cannot seem to let go of the fear of heights. There are other things as well that I have problems with, things I seem to cling to in spite of their seemingly simple solution. I get so frustrated myself that I feel like crying. But am I a child of God not worth patience? And can I have patience for another if I will not give this gift to myself? Impatience does not mean I want freedom so much I can't wait for it. It's actually a sign that I'm using the ego to direct my spiritual path. Uh-oh, that's not going to work. I look to the ego. If I look to the ego to find myself, I will find my little self, my ego self, but not my true self. Impatience is of the ego, not of God. So when I am patient with myself or anyone, I know that I'm looking for, if I am impatient with myself or anyone, I know that I'm looking for salvation in all the wrong places. And then paragraph 12. Now you must learn that only infinite patience produces immediate effects. This is a way in which time is exchanged for eternity. Infinite patience calls upon infinite love. And by producing results now, it renders time unnecessary. We have repeatedly said that time is a learning device to be abolished when it's no longer useful. The Holy Spirit, who speaks for God in time, also knows that time is meaningless. He reminds you of this in every passing moment of time, because it is his special function to return you to eternity and remain to bless your creations there. He is the only blessing you can truly give, because he is truly blessed. Because he has been given you freely by God, you must give him as you received him. That first sentence seemed strange when I first read it. Infinite patience produces immediate effects. I wonder what that even meant. At first glance, it seems like a paradox, but actually it makes perfect sense when we remember that time is not real, but simply a tool to be used to help us wake up. Once we no longer need time because we have come to our true self, time will cease to exist. Here's how I think that works now. There is a wrong-minded thought that I believe. I see that the thought is making me unhappy, so it must be an ego thought and one that I no longer want to believe. I give the thought to the Holy Spirit and ask that he remove it from my mind. Once that thought is gone, I no longer experience the unhappy effects produced by the thought. Those effects showed up in my life as part of the story, and that part of the story is no longer showing up. So a chunk of time is removed. The chunk that would have been taken up with the stories that were manifest by that belief that is no longer in my mind. I no longer have those stories because I've learned the lesson they represented. So the time needed to accommodate the story is wiped out. Jesus says we can save time in this way. In fact, he says that we can save thousands of years as our lessons are learned. So this is a way that time is translated into eternity. Now, how does infinite patience come in? We're told that infinite patience calls on infinite love. By calling on the Holy Spirit to translate our mistaken thoughts for us, we're calling on infinite love and allowing time to be undone. The Holy Spirit is not only infinitely loving, he is infinitely patient as well. And through him, I am learning to use infinite patience too. The ego is very impatient and wants everything now in its own way. Through vigilance and trust, I am learning a new way. I'm learning to follow the guidance of patience instead of listening to my ego's impatience. The other thing in this paragraph that confused me is the last line, in which I'm told I must give the Holy Spirit as I received him, because I wasn't sure what I was being told. I asked Jesus how he meant for me to use this, and this is what was given to me. The Holy Spirit is a solution to your only problem, the separation idea. The Holy Spirit is the answer to every question, the response to every thought. You give what you have been given when you answer your brother's ego words and actions with the Holy Spirit's answer. I understand now how I give the Holy Spirit as freely as he was given me. Sometimes I feel like my brother's words are an attack on me. This is the ego response. I notice that response in my mind and immediately ask that it be translated into truth. I am reminded that my brother is really asking for love and understanding, so I give him love as I understand the fear behind his attack. If my brother is fearful and asking that someone understand this and love him, how can I not respond in love? This is the way I give the Holy Spirit as he was given me. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with another reading. See you then.